This is Rose Academy. It is a detective Otome game. So I'm super excited to try it. It is one that I got a key from emailer. So I get to do the trial and error with it. So we'll see how it goes.
Investigation.
The cityscape had a long given way to the endless forest outside the window, but I was so lost in thought that I noticed nothing around me. Okay, so this is our... Be really nice if I had a mouse. Okay, so we don't have a mouse, so I just have to scroll around and hope for the best. The driver was saying something about the beautiful view and the unusually warm September weather, but his words dissolved into the air, never reaching my mind. Usually, I'm attentive to detail, noticing any small thing other than mission inevitable professional deformation of a special agent. But that day, it felt like even if a red van drove into me, I wouldn't notice it. It was good that I was just a passenger that day and could afford to get lost in memories of what happened in the morning.
I was just saying no problem at all. Ready when you are.
A morning phone call interrupted my morning magic, which consisted of a cup of espresso and reading the news. But this time, something was different. A premonition told me that this call wasn't random. The phone continued to vibrate incessantly. I reached out and after a second's hesitation, answered the call. Hello? James? The girl's voice sounded vaguely familiar, but I couldn't recall where I'd heard it before. Who is this? Perhaps you don't remember me. It's been many years. It's Nika. We were at the same summer camp together, Bears Cliff. Do you remember? Her name triggered a wave of a long-forgotten memory, washing the rest of the world out in my head. Nika, my first love. Of course I remembered. There are things you don't forget. I remember. It's so unexpected to hear from you after 10 years? Yes, 10. It's hard to believe. So this year marks the anniversary of our first meeting? The girl's voice sounded cheerful, almost playful. However, I was too surprised to play along. And of our last meeting, too. Nika, has something happened? For a couple seconds, silence hung on the line. I could almost see her biting her lower lip, a habit she always had when she was nervous. Hi, Matt.
So, I was just saying no problem at all. Ready when you are.
Okay. Yeah, Phil is not working today, so I'll just close Ampy and hope for the best. But I hope that you have a great day, Matt. Thank you so much for stopping in. I wonder if she still has this habit after all these years. You're right, something has happened. I wish that the reason for my call were just the anniversary, but there's something more serious. I heard that you've become one of the best in your field. How did she know I'm a special agent? That's classified information. Despite my curiosity, it's not a question to ask over the phone. Anyway, I need your help, James. What exactly is the matter? Ooh. I'm the principal of a girls' school, and one of our students died yesterday. It looked like a suicide, but she had no reason for it. Although it may sound strange, my experience tells me there's something more going on here. Vacation, huh? And now I'm investigating something again. A schoolgirl's suicide? That's not even my specialization. Damn it, why did I agree to it? Just because I heard her voice? So many years, and all this time she has my number. She knew who I was, but she never called after what happened. Well, what really happened is puppy love. What truly connects us besides our story from summer camp. But no matter. No matter how hard I tried to convince myself that we had nothing in common, I couldn't forget how 10 years ago I rushed to the post office after returning from camp. Hi, Fish! I hope you're having a wonderful Saturday! Thank you so much for coming in and stopping by. I remember how, week after week, I could never find that letter in a pile of fresh mail. I remembered pleading with my parents to visit Nika on the other side of the country to make sure she was okay. I remembered my father finding her home phone number and how I dialed it. On the other end of the line, I heard Nika's family had moved, and the new tenants didn't have their current address or number. The driver's voice pulled me out of my reflections of the past. We've arrived. When the driver stopped the car for a moment, I doubted we've arrived at the correct address. The building visible beyond the gates looked more like a luxurious mansion belonging to some European aristocrat than a girls' school. Taking my bag from the trunk and paying the driver, I double-checked the address on my phone. Rose Academy. The address seems correct, so it really is a school. Judging by its location and appearance, the girls aren't from simple families. As I approached the gates, I automatically noticed the flicker of a miniature sensor hidden within the gate's decorative element. I'd seen such a hidden facial recognition system many times before. The only difference was that they were usually used in government buildings or at a secret headquarters meeting rather than in civilian institutions. Before my fingers could press the call button, a mechanical voice came from a hidden speaker. Please state your name and the purpose of your visit. James Crofton. I'm here by personal invitation from the principal. For a couple of seconds, the system went silent, processing the information. Ooh, we got let in. I walked through the gates and they smoothly closed behind me. There were a few students in identical uniforms standing on the lawn. Noticing me, they immediately began whispering, casting curious glances my way. I pretended not to notice them, but my ears caught every word of their not-so-quiet conversation. Do you see him too, or am I tripping? He's so handsome. I wish he were our new teacher. Then I'd go to all of his classes, especially the extracurricular ones, if you know what I mean. I assume guests are rare at this school. It's no surprise that a new person on academy grounds becomes an object of intense scrutiny. And considering it's a girls' school, it seems I'm sparkling a special interest among the students. The path from the gates to the door seemed like a red carpet. The closer I got to the school, the more curious stares I felt. Groups of schoolgirls of various ages strolling through the grounds fell silent at my appearance, then immediately erupted into whispers behind my back. I don't remember ever getting this attention. Ooh, our first choice. That's pleasant, that's unpleasant. I mean, personally, when I get that kind of attention, I like it. So we'll go ahead and go with that's pleasant. I must admit, I even liked it. Feigning interest in landscape design, I suddenly turned toward a lonely senior student. She was standing nearby, her intense gaze fixed on me from the moment I stepped onto the school grounds. Our glances met for a moment, and I managed to notice her reddened eyes, her fingers nervously fidgeting at the hem of her skirt. Unlike the other students who were looking at me with curiosity, her facial expression her face expressed tension and some inner anxiety. Catching my gaze, she quickly turned away. What a beautiful girl. That's a little sketchy considering we're clearly an adult. And she seems upset about something. Should I ask if she's okay? Hold on, not the time. Not for skirts, not for emotions. Investigation, James. I involuntarily shook my head, dispelling the intrusive thought. I took a deep breath as if before diving into water and pushed the door open. Our CEO, Willow, has stopped by to say hello. Yes, hello. Hello. Mother, let me down. I'm a little hesitant now that we know that we're an adult and we are going to be influencing the girls in high school. So we'll see how this goes forward. Surprisingly, there were no guards inside the building. Instead of live security, there were small surveillance cameras set up everywhere around you. I looked around, trying to figure out where to go next. The lobby branched off into several corridors, none of them marked with a principal's office sign. Great, I'm in a school the size of a small palace, and there's no one to ask where to go. Guess I have to rely on my intuition. Choose the corridor leading to the right of the main. I choose the corridor leading to the right of the main entrance. Jesus Christ, I'm so sorry I can't read for shit this morning. In this wide hallway with high ceilings, I saw the portraits of past graduates and glass display cases containing trophies and medals. I even recognized the face of a famous political figure in one of the photographs. With every minute I spent here, I became more convinced that this institution wasn't just a school, but a forge of the elite. After walking to the end of the corridor and finding nothing resembling the principal's office, I decided to turn the corner. I felt a shove that nearly made me lose my balance. It took me a few seconds to collect myself and realize what had happened. Oh! Well! There were textbooks scattered across the floor, and their owner looked up at me with wide, frightened eyes. I'm sorry, I wasn't looking where to go. I'm so sorry. Are you okay? You didn't hurt yourself. For some reason, the simple question made her cheeks flush bright red. No, I'm fine. It's just, I'm very clumsy. My mom used to tell me when I was little that I had 2 left feet. It's always like this with me. The girl adjusted her glasses and looked with annoyance at the scattered textbooks. I'm late. Do I have time to help? Pick up the books. It's just the courteous thing to do. Time was running out, and I couldn't afford to waste it on trifles. Though I decided not to linger, I still checked. Are you sure you're okay? The girl nodded affirmatively in response, causing her glasses to slide down the tip of her nose. She began hastily picking up her books, quickly transferring them from one hand to the other. Among them was a copy with the inscription, "The Final Exam," eliminating the competition. Grabbing the last textbook, she nodded briefly and darted around the corner. Damn, I should have asked that girl where to go, but she ran off so fast. Such a prestigious school and no signs, though perhaps it's part of their educational philosophy to foster independence. I adjusted my jacket and continued on my way, relying solely on my intuition and years of experience navigating the unfamiliar territory. Eventually, after several turns and a couple of dead ends, I found a corridor with a door proudly displaying a sign, Principal Veronica Preston. Wow, so Nika is actually a short form for her full name. That's interesting that he didn't know that. It seems I know very little about her. 10 years have passed, but I still remember her as the girl from a camp. Yet in that time, she's become the principal of an elite school. I paused for a second before the door, gathering my thoughts. Beyond the story was not only information about the mysterious death of a student, but also meeting with the person from the past who, it seemed, had been long left behind. I took a deep breath and knocked. A muffled "come in" came from behind the door. I turned the doorknob and stepped into the office. James, is that really you? Nika, as expected, had changed in 10 years. Her soft, childlike features, I knew, were gone. Nika was always beautiful, but I didn't think she'd become such a stunning woman. Her eyes, still clear and expressive, faint lines had appeared at the corner of her lips, giving her a smile, a special charm. Seeing me, Nika rose from her seat, her suit perfectly accentuating her status as the principal of a prestigious school, while still highlighting her graceful figure. Well, she has no waist, so I feel like she had it custom-tailored. Nika seemed genuinely happy to see me, yet she maintains a certain distance. I wonder if it's a professional habit or something more personal between us. Please, come in, have a seat. She pointed at the chair opposite the desk and sat back down in the principal's seat. Nika looks unexpectedly at home behind the massive desk, even despite her relatively young age. I'm glad to see you. It's just a shame that we're meeting under these circumstances. Always compliment a woman. Your decision affected the relationship. Let's get straight to the matter, Veronica. Exactly what happened. Oops, I keep picking the wrong one. I have to pick the one that is not high, like not fully colored. I have to remember that. Oopsies. Let's get straight to the matter, Veronica. What exactly happened? Her face subtly changed. Her eyebrows raised slightly, and her smile became a bit more strained. After all, I'm here on business during my vacation and not to exchange compliments. Besides, if she's so glad to see me, why didn't she show up sooner? 10 years is a long time to at least call once. Just Nika, please. Veronica sounds so formal, and we've known each other too long for such formalities. She said this with a soft smile, but there was a slight disappointment behind it. I mean, if she wanted to get attention from him, I have to agree she should have called. 10 years is a long time, so, you know. We could have done something. It seemed she had hoped our meeting would be a bit warmer despite the circumstances. As for the matter, we really don't have much time. I appreciate you coming, especially given the circumstances. To interrupt your vacation for an investigation at a school at the request of someone you haven't spoken to in so many years. I would have to understand if you refused, but I didn't know who else to turn to. She sat up straight in her chair, adopting a more official posture. Her voice became businesslike, devoid of the warmth with which she had greeted me. Nika took a deep breath, collecting her thoughts. It was clear that talking about what happened was difficult for her. Yesterday, we found one of our students hanged in the changing room by the pool. Her name was Aveline Forrest, a senior student and a member of the swimming team. Aveline was one of the best students. No one could have imagined she was capable of such a thing. We called the police and the ambulance. We followed all protocols, but it's still a great tragedy for our entire school. The girls are scared, their parents are calling every 5 minutes, and the teachers are shocked. Nothing like this has ever happened here before. Nika, I'm sorry, but suicides don't usually require precautions like calling in specialists like me. Why did you decide to contact me? I called you so you could take a fresh look at all of this and conduct a small investigation. I need an objective answer on why Evelyn might have done this. Just a couple weeks ago, we were discussing her plans for the future, which, by the way, were quite ambitious. But her ambition was natural. She was one of our leading contenders for a grant. Wait, what grant? Every year, our best graduates get the opportunity to enter any university in the country without any tests or exams. It's not just admission. They cover her tuition, housing, and all of her expenses. Of course, the competition is fierce. They consider everything, not just grades, but also sports achievement, community work, and leadership qualities. Evelyn had every chance of getting this grant, so it's incomprehensible to me what would have pushed her to do this. You see, I can't be objective. For me, our students and teaching staff are almost a family. And I know these girls, not just from documents and grades. I see them every day and watch them grow. And when something like this happens, it's like a punch to the gut. I feel responsible to Evelyn and to her parents and to the other students. Right now, I desperately need a clear head by my side. Besides, I don't have much time. What do you mean? How much time do we have for the investigation? The Board of Trustees meeting is in 4 days. They expect answers, and if we don't provide them, the school will likely be closed. That seems intense for what happened, but I mean, I can understand why this is something that wouldn't normally happen at a very prestigious girls' school for high school. But I still feel like closing the school seems like a very rash decision with what happened. Some parents have already said they'll withdraw their daughters from the school if they don't get guarantees of their safety, so we need to figure out what really happened. If it was suicide, we must understand the cause and do everything to prevent it from happening again. And if it's something else, we need to resolve it even faster. Do you already have the forensic reports? Were there any signs of a violent death found? They promised to send the information this evening. As soon as I get it, I'll report the information to you immediately. Are there surveillance cameras in the pool area or the corridor leading to it? If you have any doubts that she did this herself, the recording might help put an end to this matter, possibly before the forensic reports. Of course, I haven't seen the recordings yet, but I've already asked our technician to download and prepare all of the footage from last night. Nika looked at the watch on her wrist and then shifted the gaze to the wall clock as if checking the time. Her movements betrayed some impatience. They'll be ready in 20 minutes. Of course, there are no cameras inside the changing rooms, but there's a camera in the pool and more cameras in the corridor leading to the pool. In any case, if it's a suicide, cameras are unlikely to give us the answer of why Evelyn did it. So let's start from the beginning. Where, who, and what time was the body found? In the changing room by the second pool, around 10 in the evening, Annie Harper, her classmate, found her. Wait, the second pool? Does your school have more than one? The school has 2 pools, one for regular physical education classes for students not specializing in swimming, and the second pool is specifically for swimmers. Did Evelyn have a key to the pool? Instead of a key, we use a face scanner accessible to me, Coach Sam Rivers, and the girls on the swimming team. By the way, I've already requested to give you access as well so you can enter the pool at any time. Doesn't the system save data on who entered and when? The scanner installed at the pool doesn't save data. Unfortunately, we haven't had time to update it. Only the scanner at the main gate saves data and recordings, but in any case, Evelyn didn't leave the school grounds. I feel like that's silly that they wouldn't record the data for every face scanner, but I guess you wouldn't record. But no, that wouldn't make sense, because if you had a key card, all of those scans are recorded. Anyway, I understand that we have to have, we have to solve the mystery. We can't just have it given to us. Only adults are allowed to leave the school grounds, and Evelyn wasn't 18 yet. Well, we'll work with what we have. You said her classmate Annie found her. Is Annie also a swimmer? Yes, Annie is on the swimming team. In our school, classes aren't formed by age, but specialization. Hey, Mark, this game is sus. You're not wrong with that. We've already seen underwear. How's your Saturday going? I hope it's going well. I'm very interested because we're at a high school. This girl is the principal, and we used to have she's our first love that we met at a camp when we were 10 years ago. So we're not quite sure how old we are. But we know that she's old enough to be the principal of an elite girls' school. So I'm guessing we're probably in early 30s. Direction's unclear, but they looked a lot younger. They looked like elementary age, in an elementary or middle school age in the flashback. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe she's really exceptional. Who knows? But I'm very interested. It was good. You were new. He was new country. Anyway, I'm glad it's been good so far. We have science, arts, humanities, and of course a sports department, which features several disciplines, including swimming. Evelyn and all the other swimmers have trained with were also classmates. They not only practiced together at the pool, but also attended most classes and adapted their training schedule. Willow, there is no hair tie. Please get down. Please get down. Thank you. I swear, sometimes she understands English. This is us, down in the corner. Her name is Willow. She's our stream CEO. She loves hair ties, and she's a little goblin girl, but she's very sweet. She's my little Velcro kitty. Yeah, my little Velcro kitty. That probably simplifies things, so we need to focus on the girls from the swimming team. I pulled out a notepad and a pen from the inner pocket of my jacket. The habit of writing down details remained from my first investigation. You wish you had cats. I love it. We have 2. So this is Willow, and she's a Torby. Oh, so she's got a little bit of orange in her. And then we have a Lynx Point Siamese. And he is just a little bit bigger than her. And they're about 3 months apart, but they're besties. They're so sweet. But Ghost doesn't like when I'm streaming. I pulled out a notepad and pen from my inner jacket. The habit of writing down details remained from my first investigations. Here we go. We're actually starting. Notepad obtained. Something important could slip from my memory, and in some cases, every little thing matters. Please send me the data on everyone who has access to the pool, including students, teachers, and maintenance staff. All the maintenance staff were off for the weekend, so they weren't at the school. I'm not sure it's worth spending time on them. As for the rest, I've already prepared the key information for you. Nika handed me a folder. Inside, I found photos of the coach, the students, along with short information about each of them. Clue obtained. Nice. Nika's phone vibrated, and at that very second, a notification sound chimed on her computer. She glanced at the monitor, her expression abruptly changing. I know it's urgent. I just have a couple more questions. Something about the green one. What do you mean something about the green one? I mean, she's our, like, that's the romance interest, the main interest, love interest. Looks like the time is really limited. I need to ask my questions wisely. More about Evelyn. What was she like? What were Evelyn's relationships with other students like? Who else was a contender for the grant besides Evelyn? Could Evelyn and her family have enemies, or what was Evelyn doing so late at the pool? I think we should ask about the grant contenders. So we'll go with that. Who else was a contender for the grant besides Evelyn? And how serious was the competition? Yeah. I knew you'd ask about that. Well, why are you upset about that, dude? That's like the #1 fishy thing. This morning, I wanted to get the documents for the graduating students from the Teacher's Lounge, all about their rankings, grades, and personal notes from teachers of each student. I did not beat Elden Ring. We're doing a demo today, and so I play Elden Ring Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. No, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So, and then I do game demos on Saturdays that are like pop-up streams whenever I have keys for new games. So we're trying out this new Otome game. So it will be interesting. Boop, 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 boop. And the most interesting thing is that these papers have gone missing. Someone must have taken them to work on and forgotten to return them. I'll have to check with my colleagues. Regarding the grant, this year it was mainly Evelyn and her classmate Mickey Elderwood who were competing with it. Both are talented, but in different areas. What's my favorite song and movie? My favorite song right now is Spaghetti by what is their name? By La Seraphim. And it's a K-pop song. And my favorite movie, that's harder, but it's probably She's the Man. Because it's one that I'll always watch over and over again. Evelyn was our star in the pool, and Mickey's a genius in the exact sciences. She has no equal in mathematics and physics. She's even won the National Olympics twice. Cool. I don't know what that is. A good motive. I'll need to talk to this Mickey. And I think it would be important to ask what she was doing so late at the pool. Or is there, I think maybe the relationships with the other students would be a good idea. What were Evelyn's relationships with the other students like? Sophie is the complete opposite of Evelyn. She's sociable, emotional, and always at the center of attention. But somehow they complemented each other perfectly. Nika paused for a second, glanced at her desk, and then decisively reached for a drawer. I think I had a photo of them somewhere. Yes, here it is. She took out a small photograph in a simple frame and handed it to me. Oh, we met her friend already. Wait a minute, I've seen this girl today at the school gates. She's the student who was staring at me so intensely. She looked worried. With the other girls on the team, Evelyn's relationships were mainly neutral. I think they respected her for her results, but they didn't really include her in the company. Perhaps she wasn't sociable. I haven't heard of any serious animosities. Of course, we have minor disagreements and misunderstandings like any school does, especially given that ours is a private one. But nothing to worry about, as far as I know. All right, that's enough questions for today. A picture of what happened was slowly forming in my mind. Of course, it wasn't complete, but I had the initial idea. Do you think the camera recordings are ready yet? Or does the technician need more time? I think we can go down and check it. Johnson usually works very fast. He may have already prepared them. We both rose from our chairs, but before we could take a step, the office door burst open without a knock. A woman in a tracksuit almost flew into the room. Oh, hello. Miss Preston, I have an emergency. The woman stopped mid-sentence, noticing me in the office, but she didn't look embarrassed. She was probably assessing what was happening. Sorry, I didn't know you had a visitor. I seem to have interrupted your conversation. I should have knocked. It's okay, that's James Crofton, the specialist I invited to help us understand the situation. James, meet Sam Rivers, our swimming coach. So, what's your emergency? I'm afraid this emergency is sitting in front of you. The entire school is buzzing because of a man in a suit. People are spreading rumors. I came to ask that the police not torment the students with endless interrogations. It's enough for the girls to be traumatized by their classmates' death. James isn't exactly from the police. He's an experienced investigation specialist who will help us figure out what happened. Ugh. As for the talking to the girls, it's a necessity. We need to understand what could have happened to push Evelyn to do this. Besides, I've already received consent from both the parents and the students for these conversations. Sam crossed her arms over her chest. No disrespect, but you don't need to be a detective to understand that the girls probably couldn't handle the responsibility. So we have two people that are looking at us angrily. I didn't get a chance to ask what kind of responsibility she was referring to, as the piercing wail of a fire alarm echoed through the building. You wish your cat didn't respect boundaries. Willow does not understand boundaries. She is the CEO and queen of our house. She does what she wants when she wants. Nika immediately turned to her desk and reached for her computer. A few quick keystrokes and her face froze. I've played Ori, actually, so that's one that I've already played. I didn't stream it, but I've played it before. I really enjoyed it. It's not a drill. The security system shows there's a fire on the 3rd floor. The server room is burning. Johnson is up there preparing the recordings. Nika rushed to the door. Sam and I followed her. The corridor was already in motion. The students and teachers were exiting the room in organized chaos. We struggled to make our way through the crowd running towards us. The murmur of voices and blare of alarms filled the school. Nika, on the move, issued instructions to the teachers she met along the way. Miss Parker, please make sure all junior students come out to the front yard. Jenkins, contact the fire department. A middle-aged woman, apparently one of the teachers, was trying to soothe a sobbing girl while the other students lined up against the wall. Somewhere in the distance, there were shouts of senior teachers coordinating the evacuation. Nika confidently led us through the labyrinth of corridors, climbing higher and higher up the stairs, skipping steps. On the 3rd floor, we turned into an empty corridor. There were no students, only the smell of smoke that grew more intense with each step. Middle-aged woman, she looked 24. Yeah, everybody looks really young here. There are romance options. We're a adult male in a high school. The girl with the green hair is our first love. And we've already seen a high schooler's panties. So red flag on the play. I'm not sure how I feel about this yet. It's very Japanese anime coded. Having reached the end, we stopped in front of a small room from under the door whose gray plumes were billowing. Sounds Japanese, yeah. Sus, to say the least. Johnson, are you there? There was no answer. I quickly looked around and noticed a fire extinguisher on the wall. Without wasting time, I ripped it from its mount. I knew it could be dangerous, but every second counted. Step aside! I pulled open the door and directed a stream of foam at the source of the fire. It's fine. Tess, what roleplay is this? It's fine. Tess, what roleplay? Yeah, but... Oh, whatever. It's just really suspect that we can influence the high school girls' feelings. But I know that probably, like, the thing behind it is most likely the manipulation of the girls to get us to tell us the information, and then we're romancing the adults as well. And I accidentally fucked up our first thing, and so now the green-haired girl doesn't like us anymore. Whoopsies! I pulled open the door and directed the stream of foam at the source of the fire. You're supposed to direct the fire extinguisher at the base of the flame. Fun fact. And spray. That's generally how relationships... Hey. I don't know. I have been in one official relationship, and that's with my partner. Everything else was like a situationship, so... Hee. The flames quickly receded. Despite all the smoke, the fire was small. The flames retreated under the pressure of the chemical. Although the smoke made it seem like a serious blaze, the fire wasn't massive. Near the charred wires was a melted microchips with the blackened remains of an external hard drive. Womp womp. After extinguishing the last flickers, I looked around. It was a small room, more like a storage closet with several monitors and technical equipment. Thank God no one's here. Johnson must have evacuated with the others. Lucky for you, you innocent doll. That's me. Just a little princess. Your technician probably survived, which is more than I can say for the computers. What a weird coincidence. The fire occurred when we were about to get the camera recordings. Too strange for that to randomly happen. Yeah. I think that's obvious. It looks like someone didn't want us to see the records of those cameras. It's quite likely this could relate to the girl's death. Is someone destroying the evidence? We should find Johnson and figure out why the fire started so inopportunely and where he was at that time. I'll take care of that. And I also need to calm the students and staff. The sooner we normalize the situation, the better. James, maybe you could talk to Miss Rivers for now. She was Avalyn's coach and mentor. Perhaps she can tell you something. I don't mind. I'd also like to examine the spot where the body was found. Sam, could you please show James to the pool and changing room? I'll talk to you later. Sure, no problem. Nika, take your time. I'll talk to Miss Rivers and Avalyn's classmates. It's just Sam for you. Sam gave me a slight wink, and with unexpected playfulness that did not at all match her previously serious demeanor. Nika's reaction was barely noticeable, with just slight tension in her jawline and a fleeting pause before she nodded and turned to leave. An invisible spark of tension seemed to flash between the two women, something I couldn't help but notice. Seems like Nika is jealous? I followed Nika with my eyes and then hurried to catch up with Sam, who was already moving in the opposite direction. In silence, we walked down the corridor and descended to the first floor. The fire alarm had already quieted, but a faint scent of smoke was still lingering in the air. The coach kept one step ahead, leading me through the labyrinth of school corridors. Her confidence... English is so hard, y'all. Her confident gait and perfect posture unmistakably revealed a person for whom sports was a way of life, not just a profession. We passed several turns, went through double doors, and found ourselves in a spacious room with a high ceiling. The smell of chlorine immediately hit my nose. Here we are, the champion's home. The coach's voice softened, taking on a playful note. So, you're not the police? Then where are you from? Curiosity flickered in her eyes. She looked at me, her head tilted as if trying to solve a puzzle. I'm more of a security consultant. Miss Preston invited me and an independent expert. Security consultant. Sounds mysterious. She took a step towards me, closing the distance. A mysterious man in a perfect suit, and handsome too, just like in the movies. I want to examine the changing room where the body was found. Could you show me? She nodded at me and headed towards the door on the right side of the hall. I followed her and tried to focus on the case and not her overt flirting with her full figure. The changing rooms looked as usual, rows of metal lockers, wooden benches, and a few shower stalls. I carefully examined the room, trying to understand what could have happened here yesterday. My gaze stopped at a thick water pipe running along the ceiling. So, that's where they found her? Yep, it's the only place for hanging here. Sam instinctively reached for her neck, massaging tense muscles, a physical sign of emotional discomfort. However, her face remained surprisingly calm for someone talking about one of the deaths of her students. What was Avalyn's locker number? 17. She answered without a second's hesitation. Does the coach know the locker numbers of all of her students or just a select few? A towel and some slippers. Looks like nothing else is there. I approached locker number 17 and examined it. It was an ordinary metal locker, no different from the others, with a small blue towel and flip-flops inside. Finding nothing of interest, I crouched down to look under the bench. At that moment, a piercing gaze fell on me. Turning around, I noticed Sam quickly avert her eyes, but not fast enough for me to miss her gaze fixed on my butt. Didn't she leave a note? A note? No, nothing like that. And why would she? It's not her style. Why do you think so? Even when she was alive, that girl barely opened her mouth. I drilled... Whoopsies. God, I keep... Hold on, can I... Hello? Do. Nope, that was not it. I figured there's a way to go back in the dialogue, but we'll see. Hello? There we go. I look around the room again, trying to see something that might offer a clue. Oh, that's what I want. Okay, so there's not anything I can do to go back, which seems strange to me. Okay. Sorry, guys. Oopsies. I looked around again, trying to see something that might offer a clue. Sam Rivers didn't take her eyes off me, her sneaking tapping nervously on the tiled floor. Maybe we should move to my office to continue our talk? Okay, I think I'm done here. Moving right along. The coach's office was small but comfortable, with cabinets full of trophies and walls covered with photos of smiling girls with medals around their neck. In the corner was a small sofa, and at the center of the room was occupied by a desk filled with folders and papers. I settled onto the sofa, and Sam headed toward the desk. After running around the corridors, I feel like I've had a good workout. Heated and sweaty, I urgently need to do something. Sam pulled the zipper down and slowly, almost demonstratively, took off her sweater. Did you look around? Your decision affected the relationship. I couldn't tear my eyes away from Sam. Underneath her sweatshirt was a tank top that barely contained her full breasts. The fabric outlined every curve of her toned body, showcasing the results of years of training. Our eyes unexpectedly met, and I realized she had been watching for my reaction the whole time. A satisfied, almost predatory smile played on her lips. There was pure contentment in her gaze. My reaction definitely pleased her. I need to focus on the investigation, not on the right proportions of the swimming coach, though I must admit the proportions are quite impressive. Sam settled into the opposite chair, crossing one leg over the other and leaning slightly forward. Her gaze was fixed directly on me as if she was trying to read my thoughts. So, where were we? When we were in the principal's office, you said you weren't surprised Evelyn killed herself. Why? Even though I'm her coach, and I shouldn't say this, Evelyn Frost was a very odd girl. I never saw her smile, can you believe it? Not once. Even when she broke the school record at competitions, no joy, just a nod. But Evelyn was a damn talented swimmer, and I had high hopes for her and planned to make her an Olympic champion. Interesting, she talks about Evelyn like a lost chance at glory, not a deceased student. Lately, have you noticed any changes in Evelyn's behavior? Perhaps she seemed depressed or upset. Hard to say, it was never clear what this girl was feeling. She'd come in, train hard, and leave, all in silence with a stony face. You know, I always felt that swimming wasn't her choice. Her parents probably pushed her and constantly demanded results. She probably got tired at some point. And what was her relationship with her teammates like? The girls, of course, gave her dirty looks, but they didn't bully her. They were usually mutantly indifferent with each other, I'd say. Although they all trained together, it was hard to call them a team. I wanted to clarify one more thing. Where did Evelyn get the rope she used to hang herself? Sam frowned slightly and quickly looked around. She probably snatched it from here, from the coach's office. I have a few ropes for training. Sus. Shouldn't the coach's office be locked? There was never a need before all of this, of course. But you just opened the door with a key when we came in. A fleeting look of confusion crossed Sam's face, which she instantly hid behind a playful smile. Detective, are you suspecting me of something? Of course I started locking doors after what happened. Didn't you go to the pool last night? On Sunday night? I certainly love sports, but not that much. Sam leaned forward, gazing intently into my eyes, the corner of her lips slightly upturned with a faint smile. Last night, I was bored to tears in my double bed. You know, at that moment like that, you really feel how big it is for one person. So I think you could help me fill that. A detective with such abilities surely knows how to entertain a lady when she's lonely. Flirt back or change the subject. I kind of want to change the subject just because I think I would like to go for the green-haired girl or lady, woman, instead of our very robust sports coach. I met her gaze and allowed myself a slight
it's
smile.
The final brain cell.
Hi, Jazzy. How are you? How's your Saturday going? I hope you've had a wonderful day so far. Thank you for putting on your sunscreen. I really appreciate it. We are playing a new Otome game that I have a demo key for. So I've already started. So far, it's been interesting. We're a detective, we're a secret agent, and our first love, who we met at summer camp, called us up to ask us help solve a murder, suspected murder, at her private girls' school that she's the principal of. So that's the premise. This is the swim coach of the girl who committed suicide, but they think that it was a murder. But things are a little spicy so far. In investigations, as in relationships, important not to rush. First, you must gather all of the facts and examine the details, and then make a conclusion. Perhaps when the case is closed, we can discuss your problem in more detail. Sam's eyes sparkled with pleasure. She appreciated my answer. We're not undercover as a student. They know that we're here for the investigation. So that's really interesting. Hi, Robert. Thank you so much for applying your sunscreen. We are playing a new Otome game. We are a secret agent that was called by our first love that we met at summer camp to help solve a murder that happened at the girls' school that she's the principal of. And it's a little spicy so far. We've already seen underwear, so. And we have flirted with 2 different women. So we're going well. It's going well. But yeah, we're here to solve a high school student committed suicide, and they don't think it was suicide. So we're here to try and solve. No problems here. Yeah, I know. It's quite entertaining. Undies. Yeah, I know. I was that showed up and I was like, hello? Anyway, it's interesting. It's very interesting so far. But I am enjoying the art style so far, and I am very intrigued by the premise. So this is a demo. The full game officially comes out in March. The pinned comment has the link to go wishlist the game in Steam if you're interested. But yeah, no, it's been interesting. Sam's eyes sparkled with pleasure. She appreciated my answer. I like your strategy, Mr. Crofton. I think I don't have any more questions for you today, although, no, I do have one. Could you tell me where I can find Annie Harper? Sam's eyebrows rose, and flicker of surprise mixed with wariness crossed her face. Harper? Why do you need her? She hardly communicated with Evelyn. Annie found the body. At least, I need to understand why she went into the pool at that time. Maybe she knew something. The girl is most likely in her room right now. The student dormitory is in the east wing. She rose from her chair, took her sweatshirt from the hanger, and put it back on. I'll show you the way. The school is big. It's easy to get lost. We stepped into the corridor. The building was gradually filling with students and staff. There was a fire earlier, so everyone had to evacuate. The girls were returning in groups, quietly chatting to each other. Sam confidently led me through the halls to the side wing of the building. At our appearance, conversations immediately died down, and all of the students' attention turned to us. One of the girls, as we walked past, looked at Sam and me with curiosity. Her eyes swept over me with undisguised interest, but when she met the coach's stern warning gaze, she immediately looked away and quickened her pace. We ascended the spacious staircase to the second floor, where the corridor branched in several directions. The students' room are in the east wing. The girls live in pairs. We group them by their focus, sports girl and nerds. It's easier to monitor them and avoid schedule confusions that way. Harper's roommate is currently in a chemistry class. Sam lowered her voice and leaned closer, her eyes sparkling playfully. By the way, I live not far from here, room 901, just around the corner, just in case you need extra information or something a bit stronger than coffee on a hard day. I'll keep that in mind. Sam smiled slightly. My answer seemed to satisfy her. As we walked down the corridor, I noticed that the room's doors had numbers, some of them decorated with stickers and drawings. Finally, Sam stopped in front of door 63. There were no decorations on it, just a small metal plate with the number. Jeep, hello! Good busy or bad busy? We're playing a new Otome detective demo, and so it's been really interesting so far. It's a little spicy, but it's fun. I like it. We're a detective trying to solve a potential murder at a high school for elite girls. Very interesting. Here we are. Good busy working with class stuff. Nice. Well, you know, because like there's good busy and there's like overwhelmed busy, which I determine is bad busy. But I'm glad it's going well. The coach knocked briefly and there was no answer. She knocked again a little more intensely. Maybe the girls haven't returned after all, after the evacuation yet. We were about to leave when a quiet rustling sound came from behind the door. A couple seconds later, the door creaked open a few centimeters. You like it because you want to romance everyone. Well, of course. It's too early to make a decision. You're playing Outlast, so the vibes of your stream will help me freak out less. Yeah! We're romancing anime girlies here. Definitely more chill than Outlast. And it's a visual novel, so I'm reading a lot. The sassy, of course. Annie, may we come in? Meet Annie. The girl silently opened the door wider, letting us in. Into the room. Maybe Sam got the wrong door and we accidentally walked into a junior high student's room. She must be tiny. The girl's head barely reached my chest, but the coach wasn't surprised. She's so tiny, it's hard to believe she's a high school senior, much less a swimmer. Annie, this is Mr. Crofton. He is here to talk about Avalyn. But if you don't want to, you don't have to talk to anyone. We understand. A brief exchange of glances between Annie and Sam didn't escape my attention. My job has taught me to see what's hidden from the naked eye, and I could discern the signs of inner tension in the girl's posture. Annie's shoulders subtly tensed and her breathing became more measured, as if she was consciously controlling it, and her pupils slightly dilated. Thank you so much for the heart me chaos. I appreciate you. It was very, very nice of you to send a heart me. I appreciate it. Her face showed indifference, but her body betrayed either aversion or fear. It's fine. I'm ready. Sam smiled, but there was something unnatural forced about it. The coach leaned slightly toward the girl, lowering her voice to an almost intimate whisper. Okay, if you feel uncomfortable, please don't hesitate to discuss it with me. You know I won't let anyone hurt you. Annie nodded silently, clenching her teeth so tight that her cheekbones bulged. Thank you for showing me the way, Miss Rivers. The coach left the room, quietly closing the door behind her. Annie and I were alone. There was silence in the room. Annie stood, arms crossed, looking at me with defiance. Charizards. Hi, Heike. How are you? I hope you're having a good afternoon and that the chores are going well. The game is a little spicy. I want to turn on the heater because Willow is sitting on my blanket and I am starting to get cold. Despite her petite stature, she somehow managed to look menacing, and the air in the room seemed charged with her attention. I decided to not rush things and let her get used to my presence. I unobtrusively scanned the room, noticing a curious detail. The room seemed to be divided by an invisible line of two completely different territories. Test doing ASMR with the reading. I'm not intending to. I don't think my voice is that good. The left half was in meticulous order, a bed made, even rows of books, a clean desk, and everything neatly arranged. The right side sharply contrasted, clothes on a chair, textbooks scattered around, and above the bed, a wall covered with horror movie posters. I'll bet the mess is Annie's territory. Judging by her wrinkled collar and crooked tie, the girl is not the type to fold her socks by color. Mind if I sit down? Suit yourself. Annie dismissively waved her hand towards the neatly made bed, but she remained standing. How are you feeling, Annie? I know it's hard to get through this. How do you think I feel? I found my classmate's body, and now everyone's asking me questions as if it's my fault. Do you even have any idea what it's like? Annie abruptly turned to the window, took a deep breath, trying to calm down. Then she turned back to me. Her face expressed a mixture of irritation and fatigue. And that stupid fire alarm. The school is on edge, and I can't even get any sleep. I understand that you're going through a tough time. Can you tell me how close you were to Evelyn? A tough time? Are you sure you're not a psychologist? I already told them I don't need a shrink. No, I'm not a psychologist. I'm here to figure out what happened. My job right now is to talk to Evelyn's inner circle. If you need her inner circle, you've got the wrong door and should go to Sophie. We weren't friends with Evelyn. Why? You were on the swimming team and classmates too, weren't you? Annie rolled her eyes as if I had asked the stupidest question in the world. She plopped down on the edge of the bed opposite, showing her irritation. Being on the same team doesn't mean that you have to be friends with everyone. Why would I do it? We had nothing in common but the pool. She had eyes like a dead fish, always silent and staring at everyone. She liked to stick her nose where it didn't belong. What do you mean by stick her nose where it didn't belong? Annie's reaction was immediate. Her eyes widened as if she had just realized she said those words aloud. Panic, confusion, and finally irritation crossed her face. She abruptly sat up and clenched her fists. Nothing in particular. It's just, some people always notice everything, remember it, and then use it against you. She was like that. She studied everyone like a bug under a microscope. There's some backstory behind those words, but will Annie share it? She doesn't seem friendly with me right now. Did Evelyn have any conflicts with anyone? Perhaps some of her classmates or your coach? Nothing like that. Did you see her yesterday afternoon? Maybe she looked depressed or worried about something. I told you we didn't talk, and I didn't see her. And anyways, I don't keep track of what people do. I have enough worries on my own. I took out my notepad from my inner pocket and made a brief note. The sound of the pencil and paper was too loud in this quiet room. Annie fidgeted on her bed, her gaze darting to the notebook and back to my face. They told me you found Evelyn in the changing room. Why did you need to go to the pool at 10 in the evening on Sunday? Annie froze. The silence in the room grew tense, broken only by the ticking of the clock on the wall. Seconds stretched into an eternity before she finally reacted. The girl jumped off her bed, her face contorting with anger. Despite her petite stature, Annie looked intimidating. Are you accusing me of something? Who even are you? A cop? I don't see your badge. You have no right to interrogate me. I'm just trying to understand what happened. That seems like the better choice, instead of making her more angry. Responding to her aggression with this approach, oopsies. Annie Harper is like a feral kitten that's used to a human hand hitting and not petting, so it hisses at everyone. To get information, I need to remain calm and not take her attacks personally. Bye, Chaos. Thank you so much for popping in. I appreciate you. You're right. It's not an interrogation. I'm just trying to piece together the events. If I've even asked an uncomfortable question, we can move on to another topic. I'm not here to accuse anyone, but to understand what happened. Annie blinked, not expecting that reaction. Her shoulders relaxed slightly, though her gaze was still wary. She slowly sat back down on the bed, looking away and avoiding eye contact. When she spoke, her voice was softer, uncertainty seeping through her feigned rudeness. You're back, network work funny today. You're back, funny network today. Network funny. I'm sorry that your internet is being weird. Is that what? I'm sorry. Am I interpreting that correctly? My brain is still trying to process the game. When she spoke, her voice was softer, uncertainty sleeping through her feigned rudeness. I forgot my towel in the changing room. I wanted to wash it before tomorrow's training. Nothing special. I just wanted to get in and found her. I'm sorry I was rude. It's just this whole situation, you know. Evelyn might have been a bit odd, but she was still a nice girl. Thanks for being honest, Annie. If you remember anything else or need to talk to someone, call me anytime, day or night. It doesn't matter. I took a business card from the inner pocket of my jacket and handed it to her. Annie took the card and nodded silently, tucking it in her uniform pocket. I stood up and headed to the exit. Quietly closing the door behind me, I stepped into the corridor. At that moment, my phone vibrated in my pocket. Girls' room numbers: Annie Harper and Mickey Elderwood. Evelyn Frost and Sophie Williams, Vivian Devereaux. I took out my phone and saw the message from Nika. Well, I've already talked to Annie. Mickey wasn't in her room, so now I can go see Sophie Williams, Evelyn's roommate. Nika said they were friends. I straightened my tie and moved down the corridor to room number 65. When I reached the door, I knocked. No one answered. I waited a few seconds before knocking again, a little louder. Silence. I tried the door handle. The door is locked. Sophie must be in class or just doesn't want to see anyone after everything happened. After reviewing the list again, I decided to visit the room of a student named Vivian Devereaux. The girl's last name seemed vaguely familiar to me. I continued down the corridor, past identical doors with simple number plates, but when I reached the door 73, I saw it didn't look like the others. Below the numbers was an elegant drawing of a crowned lion. Judging by the style and technique, it was a family crest. I knocked on the door, and almost immediately a female voice answered from within. Come in. Stepping into the room, I involuntarily froze in surprise. The scent that unfolded before me didn't match the idea of a student in a room of a boarding school. Instead of typical school dormitory furnishings, I saw something more akin to a 5-star hotel room. In the center of the space, on a large bed, I noticed the room's owner, an elegant girl in a silk robe surrounded by pillows. That's the goal. She stretched gracefully like a Disney princess who had just woken up. Daylight streamed through the translucent fabric of her robe, accentuating the curves of her figure. The girl hopped off the bed with the grace of a ballerina and took a step towards me. Miss Devereaux? The words slipped from my lips unexpectedly formally. Damn, why am I being so formal? She's Annie's age. But Annie looks like an ill-mannered junior high student, while Vivian looks like a young woman confident in her beauty and influence. If now isn't a good time, I can come back later. It's all right, please, come in. Vivian gestured to a poof and sat in a chair at the vanity table. Every movement she made was smooth and refined as if she were playing a role in a well-rehearsed performance. I accepted the invitation and sat down on the fluffy pink poof, discreetly observing the room's details. A private room with a double bed and a vanity table for a student. Even an elite school has its hierarchies, and Vivian Devereaux was definitely at the top. You're Mr. Crofton, aren't you? Please excuse my appearance. I didn't sleep well last night, and I dozed off. Vivian turned toward me, crossing one leg over the other. Sunlight from the window lit up her profile, highlighting her flawless features. Vivian seemed to me suspicious. Of course, I couldn't deny that Vivian Devereaux was an attractive girl, especially now wearing only that light, almost transparent robe. Sketchy. She could easily disarm any man, but not someone in my profession. Too many details didn't add up. Most girls her age would feel awkward being caught like that by a stranger, but not her. But even stranger is her story about napping during the day. If she was really sleeping, where did her flawless hairstyle and makeup come from? And how did she not wake up when the entire school was in an uproar because of the fire alarm? Perhaps another man would fall for this story, but not me. There was a fire alarm recently. Didn't that wake you up? I saw no point in reacting. The fire was in a different wing. It doesn't make sense either. How did Vivian Devereaux know the fire was in a different wing if she didn't leave her room? Clue obtained! Huzzah! If I ask her directly, she'll dodge again. For now, I'll watch. At some point, the puzzle will come together and the truth will come out. I took over my notepad, signaling that time for polite pleasantries was over and it was time to get to the purpose of my visit. You probably know why I'm here. I need to understand what happened at Avalon Frost. Any information you might have is helpful, even if it seems insignificant to you. A great tragedy. I still can't recover from the moment I learned that our Avalon is gone. I even thought about packing up my things to go home. That's how shocked I was. But then I decided to stay and support the girls, especially Sophie. I saw her this morning. The poor thing is beside herself. They were so close. She's probably blaming herself for not seeing the warning signs. It's hard to accept the death of someone you love. You always think about what you could have done to prevent it, what words needed to be said, what actions should you have taken. But sometimes people make decisions that we cannot prevent. Everyone has their own path and chooses when to leave it. You speak as if you're not particularly surprised by Avalon's suicide. Maybe you noticed these warning signs? Avalon and I had a never had a heart-to-heart conversation. Of course, we were friends. I should have noticed something strange, and I would have immediately reported it. But given that we didn't communicate, it's hard for me to say if anything changed in her. Perhaps she looked the same, but who knows what was on her mind. What prevented you from getting along? You spent several years in the same class. You're her second classmate to mention that she was hard to get close to. May I be frank, Mr. Crofton? Of course, that's what I'd prefer. I think Avalon is the type of person who prefers the company of her own thoughts over people. She never reached out to people, and people didn't reach out to her. It's simple. As for me, don't get me wrong, I wasn't biased against Avalon. I don't really get along with any of my classmates. To me, they're kids. We have little in common. Aren't you all the same age? I'm talking about psychological age. I've always found it more interesting to spend time with more mature people. I prefer to discuss things more complex and meaningful than prom dresses. Vivian sounds quite self-confident. I'd even say narcissistic. Do you think the pressure could have affected Avalon? I know she was a good student and the best on the swimming team. Maybe her parents or Coach Sam Rivers expected results from her and Avalon didn't want that? Something flickered in Vivian's eyes. A quick, almost imperceptible shadow. For a split second, her mask of social confidence wavered. Then the smile returned, even wider than before, but there was something strained, mechanical about it. It was as if someone had flipped an invisible switch to make her facial muscles stop their usual expressions, but forgot to turn on the sincerity. Hey, Zeno! Yeah, this is the game I've been talking about. It's spicy so far. So, you already don't trust her, right? Right? Suspect. So far I think she's the most sus besides maybe the swim coach. But we're playing as a special agent who got called by our first love that we met at summer camp. And so now we're here to solve a student's suicide, but that's suspected a murder. The case is called Rose Academy, and it's case number 1. Hi, Wes. How are you? Happy Saturday. But she could be the obvious misdirection. No, you're totally right. But my little brain is very small. You know, sometimes I take the misdirection. I fall for it. Jeep, that is the link to go to the Steam page if you would like to wishlist it. And for our horizontal friends, I have pinned the link to the Steam wishlist. If you wishlist it, it could help me get the full game when it comes out in March 2026, because we're currently just playing the demo. So I'm very excited. So I feel like we might get left on a cliffhanger, and we'll have to come back to it in March. I don't know anything about her parents. And Coach Rivers, she wouldn't do that. There was a short pause. Vivian sat straight up in her chair as if someone had struck a ruler in her back. Thanks for streaking, Wes. This is why I shouldn't watch movies. I guess stuff way too easily. No, Heike is the same way, and he always ruins it for me because, yeah, you're watching from TikTok, and I just put in the comments up above your message that I don't know if you can copy and paste it or not, but that's the one thing that I don't really like about TikTok chat is that I can't post like actual links. Like you can't click on the link. It's just it continues to be a regular chat message. So that's frustrating. But let me know if you can't see my message in the chat. Zeno, no, gross, icky. Also, I love that emote. That's so fun. Although the girl's face remained unperturbed, her tense posture betrayed her desire to end the conversation. So frustrating. So if I copy... Oopsies. So you can't see that comment? I wonder if TikTok is blocking it because it would be like a redirection off of the app. And they don't like that. They don't like it at all whenever you do that. So that could be why. After, hold on, I can, give me 2 seconds. So I'm going to add it to my page. So if you edit that link. All right. It should be there now. So if you go to my profile, there's something you can click and that'll lead you to be able to wishlist it. So that should help. Sorry about that. Thank you so much for putting on your sunscreen, Wes. I appreciate that. Mr. Crofton, I understand you're looking for answers, but I'm afraid I'm not the person who can give them. My knowledge of Evelyn is that she was a good swimmer and didn't talk much. Nothing more than you already know. Once you hit 69, you're leaving at that. Oh my gosh, Wes. Thank you anyway. I appreciate the information. But I have one more question. I rose to my feet, taking my time to continue the conversation. Years of work have taught me that sometimes silence elicits more truth than a dozen questions. Watching Vivian, I noticed how she froze in unnatural stillness, no movement, not a single breath, as if she was on pause. Her reaction can say a lot, and the most obvious is that Vivian is afraid I'm going to ask her an uncomfortable question. Do you know where I can find Sophie Williams? I knocked on her door, but no one answered. Having realized the question had nothing to do with her, Vivian relaxed and smiled again, more sincerely this time. On Mondays, Sophie is usually in her private swimming lessons. That's between me and Zeno. Thanks for putting on your sunscreen, Zeno. I appreciate you. I know because I have the same training right after hers. So most likely, she's at the pool now. Thank you. I'll look for her there then. I closed my notepad and stood up. Vivian rose after me and headed to the door to see me out. When I reached for the door handle, it didn't budge as if it were blocked. Oh, I completely forgot to mention I have a defective door handle. No one's rushing to replace it, but, well, I'm used to it now. To open the door, you first need to pull it towards you and then push down the handle. Let me show you. Vivian glided to the door and leaned slightly, demonstrating how to open the lock. At that moment, the collar of her robe parted a little, and I noticed a dark mark on her chest. Until then, the mark had been covered under her top, but it was clearly visible now that she leaned forward. I feel like bad things are going to happen if we look closer, but I also think that we probably need to know what the bruise is from. Look away quickly. You don't want to look, Wes? But what if she's the suspect? Inappropriate. I mean, yes, it's inappropriate, but you know. Fine, we'll look away. Good point. Exactly. You know, we look closer, we get to know if the bruise is from her potentially having an altercation with a student. But it could also be something else, in which case we don't want to look at that. So maybe we should look away. We also look closer. All right, here we go. One's in chat if you want to look closer. If I see butt cheeks, sorry. This game is definitely trying to get you to make dicey decisions. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. One. All right. Here we go. Ah! Well, it looks like our elegant lady has secrets. That's a mark from someone's lips, not an accidental bruise. Yep, bait. And judging by its bright color, it's quite fresh. Nika said that only adult students are allowed to leave the school grounds, and Vivian isn't 18 yet. Oh no. This means her hickey is from someone within the school. Rip. Immediately, I looked away, trying to make it look as natural as possible. The last thing I wanted was for Vivian to realize I'd noticed what she was hiding so carefully under that silky fabric. Focusing on the door handle, I feigned complete absorption in the process of opening the door. Out of the corner of my gaze, I saw Vivian hastily adjust the collar of her robe if she sensed my gaze. Thanks for your help, and for the information about Sophie, too. You're always welcome, Mr. Crofton. I hope you find the answers you're looking for. And if you need any more information, you know where to find me. If you click on the pinned chat, that is the link to the wish list. On Steam, it's my own personal link, so if you do wish list the game, that helps me out, and I could potentially get the full game whenever it releases in March. Leaving Vivian's room, I headed for the pool, following the same route Sam had taken me earlier. I passed the familiar turns and went down to the first floor, and then walked through the double doors where the distinctive smell of chlorine hit my nose again. I noticed a girl by the pool. She was sitting on the edge, her back to me with the feet in the water. I walked along the pool, but the girl didn't react to the sound of my steps. Sorry to disturb you. Are you Sophie Williams? The girl flinched so hard that she nearly slipped into the water. She turned around sharply. In her blue eyes, I could see fear. Her reddened, swollen eyelids spoke of recent tears, and dark circles under her eyes indicated a sleepless night. Oh God, you startled me. I didn't hear you approach. She hastily wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, brushing away tears. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. I'm James Crofton. They told me I could find you here. Oh, you're that detective. The principal warned me you'd be asking questions. There was no wariness or aggression in her voice, only fatigue and sadness. I picked up the rubber mat and sat down next to Sophie on the edge of the pool, keeping a respectful distance. Sophie pulled her knees to her chest and absently ran her foot through the water. Miss Rivers gave me the day off today, but I couldn't stay in my room any longer. First time I turned over, I saw Evie side, her books, her clothes, her everything, so I decided to come here. The water calms me. Please accept my condolences. I know you were close with Evelyn. Yeah, Abby and I are best friends. She's great, so sensitive and kind, though so many don't understand that. It's just, Abby didn't know how to show feelings. She always kept everything inside. Sophie is talking about Evelyn in the present tense. She probably still can't accept her death. The girl took a deep breath, trying to hold back the approaching sobs, but her chin trembled. A single tear rolled down her cheek, and Sophie hastily wiped it away with her hand. Sophie, I'm sorry to ask, but I have to. Why do you think Evelyn might have decided to do this? Sophie turned to me sharply, her eyes flaring. Abby couldn't. I don't believe it. She would never do this. I knew her better than anyone. If something had been troubling her, something so serious, I would have noticed. If you don't believe it was suicide, then what do you think could have happened? Bait. Sophie flinched and wrapped her arms around herself as if she suddenly felt cold. I've been asking myself that question since last night, but I don't have an answer. When Abby didn't come to the dorm room last night, I immediately felt something was wrong. It was like a dream, a terrible nightmare, and I was about to go look for her, but Miss Preston stopped me. I don't even remember exactly what she said, but when she came into our room, I saw her face. I immediately knew something had happened. Sophie closed her eyes and exhaled loudly. Many people I've talked to say that Evelyn was a quiet, private person. Do you think she might not have shared everything with you? Sophie's gaze drifted aimlessly across the surface of the pool as she gathered her thoughts. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe I've been too focused on my own problems lately and haven't spent enough time with Abby. What kind of friend does that make me? A wave of emotions overwhelmed Sophie with renewed force. She buried her face in her hands, her shoulders convulsing with quiet sobs. Let's try to comfort her with words. I don't want to touch her. That seems too much. I didn't touch Sophie, but my voice softened. Why are we in Russian now? Thank you. Yes, I try my best, but sometimes I don't feel like I do a very good job. I need to see if I can put this back in English, because I can read Russian, but I can't understand it. Why is this in hello? Well. Sorry, Sophie. I know this is hard for you. Yeah, I don't know why it's Russian. Yeah, if you touch her, you'll have to wash the sin from my eyes. Sorry, Sophie. I know this is hard for you. I think I regret having to ask you these questions. Listen, Sophie, what happened isn't your fault. People sometimes hide their pain so deeply that even the closest ones can't see it. You should remember Evelyn for who she was, your best friend. And if you want to help her, help me figure out what happened. Ooh, Sophie slowly lowered her hands, revealing her face reddened from tears. She looks angry now, though. I'll I'll send a message to the devs after this and let them know that one of the messages was in Russian when we were in English. My words hit their mark. A flicker of determination appeared in her eyes. I took a clean handkerchief from my pocket and offered it to Sophie. She gratefully took it, dabbing her eyes. You're not what I had imagined you'd be. What did you imagine me to be? I don't know, a cold professional who doesn't care about people? She sighed softly as if gathering her strength. And you're right, Abby deserves for her loved ones to know the truth. I'm ready to tell you everything I know. Do you know why Evelyn went to the pool last night? Did you see her when she left? Sophie stared into space as if trying to discern the ghost of yesterday. The last time I saw her was yesterday after dinner. I'm not sure, but I think she wanted to talk to Miss Rivers about something. Sam seemed to say she spent the evening in her room. I'll need to talk to her again to clarify if Evelyn came to see her yesterday. You two were roommates, weren't you? After dinner, did Evelyn leave or did you? At these words, something changed in Sophie's demeanor. Her shoulders tensed and her eyes darted around. I stayed in the room. First I was in the room preparing for a test, and then I went to dinner. Before I came back, I went to the library to get some materials. And then I was back in my room when Abby left. That was around 6, right? Or maybe later. I think I already mentioned. So, did you see Evelyn leave? Sophie's gaze flitted across the walls, the ceiling, the water, anywhere but at me. She began methodically winding strands of her hair around her index finger and then straightening them and then winding them all over again. Yes, no, I was in the room when she was getting ready, but I had to return some books and I probably left before her, or she left before me. I can't remember. It was a hectic day. She's definitely hiding something. First, she claimed to have seen Evelyn around 6, but now she's confused about whether she was even in the room at that moment. But what exactly is it that Sophie's trying to hide? That she went somewhere? Or that she saw someone with Evelyn? Or maybe she knows more about where her roommate was going. I won't pressure her. It's better to change the subject and come back to this later when I have more information. What about her family? Did Evelyn tell you anything about her parents? About their relationship? She has a great family. I know Mr. and Miss Frost personally. They're good people and love Abby very much. I stayed with them for a week at the end of summer before school started. They live in a beautiful house on the coast. And you know what's the most impressive? They spend every evening together, talking, playing board games, or tennis. Abby's parents were just there talking about phones and constant excuses like, we'll talk later, I'm busy. It's so valuable when your family is genuinely present in your life, not just providing financially. Abby had both. She was lucky. While Sophie was talking about Evelyn's family, I felt my phone vibrate in my pants pocket. It was inappropriate to get distracted at that moment, but could be something related to the investigation. Thank you for being so open, Sophie. Your words have clarified a lot. I need to continue the investigation, but I'd like to come back to our conversation later, if you don't mind. Sophie nodded slowly. Sure. I nodded goodbye to her and then headed for the exit. At the door, I turned back. Sophie was still sitting on the edge of the pool, her feet in the water. Sophie's like an open book, but with a few torn pages. At first glance, she's a sincere, sensitive girl grieving for her friend. But those inconsistencies in time, the nervousness, she's clearly holding something back. The most dangerous secrets are sometimes kept by those you least suspect. Or maybe Sophie is just frightened the girl who lost her best friend. It's too early to draw conclusions, but I should keep an eye on her. How are things going? Have you talked to the girls? Stepping into the corridor, I took out my phone and read a message from Nika. I talked to Annie, Vivian, and Sophie. I couldn't find Mickey Elderwood. Mickey is in the library now, 2nd floor, West Wing. Talk to her, then come to my office. I'll soon have news from the medical examiner. Following the route provided in the message, I arrived at the library. Behind the heavy oak door, I was met with silence, broken only by the rustle of pages and barely audible whispers. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, casting oblique rays onto the wooden table placed between bookcases. A few girls were sitting at the tables, their nose buried in books. Which one of you is Mickey? I unzipped my bag and took out my notepad, where I had already put the photos of the students I had spoken to. Flipping through the pages, I noticed that Mickey Elderwood's photo wasn't there. I dug into my side pocket and spotted a lone photo that had slipped into the corner. It must have fallen out when I was arranging the others. I picked it up and carefully examined the image. Wait a minute. I saw her today. She's the same girl I bumped into the corridor when I was looking for Nika's office. This is the girl whose panties we saw. What a coincidence. I scanned the library and quickly found the one I was looking for. Mickey Elderwood had settled in the furthest corner, barricaded by a stack of books. The girl fixed her gaze on the pages, completely lost to reality. I stopped at Mickey's table and waited for a few seconds, but she was so engrossed in her reading that she didn't even notice me. Hello again. The girl sharply looked up, and her eyes, magnified by her glasses, widened in surprise. Seeing me, she instinctively snapped her book shut. With a habitual motion, adjusted her glasses, which were sliding down her nose. Her cheeks immediately flushed, the blush spreading to the tips of her ears. It's you? The one, hello. She quickly glanced around, as if checking whether I was talking to her and not to someone else. Her gaze held a mixture of disbelief and confusion. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed several girls at a neighboring table looking up from their textbooks, watching us with undisguised curiosity. One of them covered her mouth with her hand, whispering something to her neighbor. Mickey also noticed these glances, which intensified her embarrassment. Hi, Ryan. We're playing an Otome game today that I got a demo key for. May I? I gestured to the empty chair opposite. Mickey hastily moved some scattered papers aside and nervously nodded. Of course, yeah, please. I sat down opposite her and immediately noticed the book she had so hastily closed. The title on the cover was Mysticism Under the Microscope, a Scientific Analysis of Paranormal Phenomena. Another curious book with a strange title. Unusual reading. Is that part of your curriculum or personal interest? It's not exactly for class. It's a way of self-soothing, if I may say so. Though I know it's completely irrational and goes against common sense. Mickey nervously flipped through the book without looking up, her fingers trembling slightly. Have you seen anything paranormal? Yes, well, I'm not sure. I thought somebody was standing in our room at night in the dark. I know it's my imagination, the result of increased cortisol due to stress, but it was so real. Did you see Evelyn? The girl nodded shyly, confirming my guess. That's a perfectly normal reaction after what happened. Shock often causes such feelings. I guess you're right, it's just that Annie really scared me yesterday. Annie? You know she's the one who found Evelyn, right? When she ran into our room late at night, her eyes were so big, so wild. She was sitting on the edge of my bed half the night and telling me horrible things. Mickey spoke faster and faster, as if afraid that if she stopped, she'd lose the courage to continue. You know, she's into all of this occult stuff. She said that those who die a violent or unnatural death are restless souls who remain forever tied to the place that they died. That they see all of our secrets, all of our sins. Mickey lowered her voice almost to a whisper, nervously glancing around. And that they come to judge the wicked. And now that Evelyn will wander the school and punish the sinners. I know it's superstition, but Annie believes it, and she spoke very convincingly. And her posters, too. I always thought they were creepy, but yesterday, I felt like they were watching me all night. Judge the wicked? Punish sinners? Is Mickey afraid that Evelyn's spirit will haunt her? I think we reassure her. I think if we try to pressure her, or like ask her directly, I don't think she'll answer, but I think if we reassure her, then things will go smoother. Mickey believes me. The shadows in the corner are just a trick of the imagination. Everything has a rational explanation, even the strangest things. I leaned a little closer, speaking in a soft, soothing tone. You know, I studied psychology and intimidation tactics at university. Annie used classic techniques: darkness, isolation, talk of the supernatural. However, I don't think she was trying to scare you on purpose. It's more likely that she was on edge herself after everything that happened. In such haste, the human brain is especially susceptible to suggestion. It's just biology and psychology. No mysticism. Mickey listened intently, her gaze becoming more focused. My words seemed to have a calming effect on her. Yes, you're right. And I was so stupid to fall for it. You probably think that I'm ridiculously naive. It was totally on purpose. Yeah, Chaos. I agree. Absolutely. Also, why is... hello? There we go. Not at all. I'd say you reacted quite reasonably. You started looking for scientific explanations for what you saw. And if those mysterious shadows appear again, I'm at your service. Ghost hunting is my weekend hobby. I winked at her with a slight smile. Mickey's cheeks flushed even deeper, but now there was a shy smile on her face. She's starting to relax. That's good. Perhaps she'll be more open to talking. After a reading so much makes my tongue twist. After a short pause, I decided to return to the purpose of my visit. Mickey, I'd like to talk to you about Evelyn to understand the reasons for what happened to her. Can you tell me what she was like? The girl pondered, absently stroking the spine of the book. Evelyn was always quiet, you know, an introvert to the highest degree. Not that I'm judging. I'm not a beacon of sociability myself. She was good at both academics and sports. Everything came so easily to her. I could spend weeks preparing for an exam, making hundreds of flashcards for memorization. But Evelyn, she would just flip through a textbook during a break between practices and still get the highest grades. In academics, I still had a chance to surpass her, but in the pool, there was no chance at all. Evelyn was the best. I noticed that Mickey was upset when saying that. Her voice trembled slightly, and her fingers gripped the edge of the table. And Coach Rivers always held her up as an example, like, look at Evelyn, be like Evelyn. Why can't you swim like Evelyn? And you know what? I couldn't, no matter how hard I tried. Mickey fell silent, staring into space. Then she sighed and shook her head. It's just too hard for me to understand exactly what happened yesterday and why. Just like that, you have it all, a dream life, and then it's gone. Mickey definitely suffered from comparisons to Evelyn. But could this turn into anger? Or was it just a sad acknowledgement of somebody else's superiority? What about the last few days? Did you notice anything unusual? Maybe Evelyn was upset or argued with somebody? The girl looked away, avoiding eye contact. No, nothing like that. I spent this week preparing for our physics Olympiad. I hardly left the library, and during classes, Evelyn acted as usual. She clearly knows something more. It seems that we don't have that spark of trust needed for complete honesty. Perhaps there was something you paid attention to yesterday. Well, it was all as usual except maybe Sophie Williams, but I guess that's not relevant. Any detail may be relevant. So, what about Sophie? Thank you, Wes. I hope you have a good shift. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you. I ran into her in the corridor before dinner and asked her a regular question if she was ready for the chemistry test. But she seemed confused and ran away without saying a word. That was so unlike her. Sophie is usually very friendly and outgoing, even with me. At first glance, Sophie's behavior might not seem related to the investigation, but I still decided to record this information in my notepad. The sharp sound of a door slamming broke the silence in the library. I turned around and noticed that the last of the students had left the room. Thanks, Wes. Only Mickey and I remained in the library amidst the endless rows of books. Oh, I'm late. She began to pack her things in a flurry, but then stopped, casting a guilty gaze at me. But of course, the investigation is much more important. I think Miss Grimstock will understand. It's okay. I have no more questions for today. I don't want to cause you trouble with the teacher. With a grateful nod, Mickey hastily began packing her textbooks. She moved so fast that her pencil case slid off the table, scattering its contents. Her glasses slipped to the tip of her nose as she bent down for a fallen pen, and at that moment, her forehead met the wooden edge of the table, and a muffled thud echoed through the empty library. Ouch! Her cheeks immediately flushed bright red. With one hand, Mickey rubbed the reddened forehead, while with the other, she frantically stuffed the scattered pens and pencils into her case. The girl mumbled something unintelligible, clearly embarrassed by her own clumsiness. See you later, Mickey. Take care. She froze for a moment, meeting my eyes. Thank you. See you later. Clutching her backpack to her chest, Mickey hurried out of the library as if afraid she'd say or do something even more awkward. After watching Mickey leave, I lingered in the library just long enough to make the last notes in my notepad. The pieces of information I had gathered together were slowly coming together. But for further investigation, I needed one more important fragment, the autopsy results, which should have already come to Nika. After leaving the library, I headed back to the principal's office. I managed to gather a lot of information throughout the day, but each new fact raised even more questions. I mentally replayed my conversations with the students, trying to find a thread that would tie everything together. We have an interesting picture. Each of those with whom I spoke is hiding something. And the fire in the server room. What a strange coincidence. And then I got to the right floor. I heard Nika's muffled voice. She was talking on the phone with someone. The office door was slightly ajar, and I could hear some words. I understand your concern, Mr. Thornton, but we're doing everything we can. Okay, I'll wait for your call. I gently knocked on the half-open door just as Nika hung up. She turned to me, and I noticed her wearily rubbing the bridge of her nose. James! Finally, come in, have a seat. Any news? Hey, Kiaru, this is Rose Academy. It is an Otome game that I got a demo key for. So we are a detective trying to solve a suicide, potential murder at the school of our first love who we met at summer camp, and she's now the principal. So she called us up because we're a special agent and asked us to come do this on our vacation. CB! Ayo, who's the pretty green-haired person? That's our first love that we met 10 years ago at summer camp. So, but I accidentally forked up whenever we first started the game and didn't flirt with her, so she's kind of stiff towards us. But this has been spicy so far, and I'm interested to see what happens. Oh no, yeah, I was immediately upset with myself. I was like, no, I ruined it. But I love her green hair. I think it's gorgeous. I miss my green hair that I had like that. I had it last October, that color. And then I started going for a darker forest green, and it slowly turned into the aqua we have now. It is a good shade of green. It kind of reminds me of Beetlejuice, though. Alrighty. Sorry, I want to put my feet up. Willow is currently sitting on my blanket. Reminds me of Nickelodeon slime. No, yeah, exactly. And so I'm trying to get... I have, a jacket underneath her that I'm trying to pull out so that way I can put it on my feet because I'm still cold. You mean her blanket? Yeah. Her blanket in the CEO chair. And so my feet are still cold and I have the heater on high. And my sweater that I'm currently wearing is fleece lined. So I'm just like popsicle mode right now. All right. Hi, Ryan. Meet the first love of our character that we met at summer camp 10 years ago. I walked into the office and settled into my usual chair opposite the desk. Usual chair? We've been in here once. Nika looked exhausted. She clearly had a hard day. I talked with everyone I planned to. There's a lot of information, but so far there are more questions than answers. What about you? I heard you were talking on the phone. That was one of the board members. Everyone's on edge, and the news about the fire has started to leak, but that's not the most important thing right now. Nika leaned back in her chair and sighed heavily. James, I spoke with the fire department. What happened in the server room was definitely arson. You have a lot of studying to do today for horizontal, but you've been procrastinating for like an hour. What are you studying? Maybe I can help you out, CB. Are you going to be streaming? Are you going to be live later tonight? This afternoon? Brain. Are you sure? Absolutely. Someone set fire to a wastebasket after moving it right next to the servers. Usually that wastebasket is off to the side, but someone moved it on purpose. I swear I'm paying attention. Uh-huh. I'm sure you're distracted. Not today. You'll be on tomorrow afternoon. Okay. I will make sure to tune in. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions about anything specific. More detailed forensic results will be available tomorrow morning. Maybe we'll find out something else useful. Nice, CB. Yeah, I totally understand that. And what does your technician say? Johnson swears he just stepped out for the restroom for a minute. He says he heard the alarm there and didn't even realize exactly where the fire was. Nika stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the darkening school grounds. Besides, Johnson has an alibi. One of our teachers, Miss Evans, confirms that she met him on the way to the restroom shortly before the fire alarm. Don't you think he could have had prepared everything in advance, set the fire, and then deliberately walked past someone? Nika shook her head. I don't think so. In general, it's unclear why Johnson would commit arson. The risk is high and there's no benefits. And even if someone wanted to bribe him to destroy the records, there are much more reliable and less noticeable ways. Blueberry. Yes, that me. I blueberry. Is there anything specific about the blueberry? I agree. After a fire, there's always a chance to recover data, and a technician should understand that. Best smile. Thank you. That's why I think someone waited for Johnson to leave and seized the moment. I thoughtfully tapped my fingers on the armrest of the chair. Speaking of data recovery, I have a friend who can help. No need. I've already arranged everything. I can't entrust that work to Johnson, even though I don't think he's guilty. But I have trusted people who promise to help with it. And you're already taking on too much. At that moment, Nika's computer made a familiar notification sound. She turned to the monitor, and I noticed how sharply her expression changed. The medical examiner's report just came in. I immediately got up from my chair and walked over to Nika to see the screen. She opened the email, and we began to study the document together. Amidst the medical terms and formal phrases, I immediately caught the key points of the report. The ligature mark on the neck is circular instead of the typical oblique line expected in hangings due to the tension of the noose. Pre-mortem loss of consciousness established. The pressure was applied externally without the involvement of body's gravity. Time of death, between 10:10 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. Nika slowly leaned back in her chair, her face pale. She repeated the report several times, as if not believing what she read. So, it wasn't suicide. Are you holding up? She took a deep breath, trying to compose herself. Yes, I need time to process it. Somebody killed Evelyn and then totally staged a suicide. It means the killer's still here, at the school, walking the same corridors as the students. It's hard to think that the killer is smiling in my face every morning. That is one of my students or teachers. James, do you have any theories? Who could have done this? I understand it's only been one day, but maybe you already have some ideas? It's too early to draw specific conclusions. Besides, the fact of murder changes the approach to the case. Now we need to analyze not Evelyn's psychological state, but the motives and opportunities of the potential killer. But I need more time. Tomorrow, I plan to conduct additional interviews, and I pointed at the computer monitor. And I would also like to see the recovered camera footage, if possible. About the footage, my contact promised to be quick. The first recovered files should be ready by tomorrow evening. However, it won't be possible to restore everything. The expert sent me a list of the cameras available for work. We need to decide which ones to restore first, since each one takes a full day. Ooh, and we only have 4 days to solve this. Now we're at 3 days going forward. Nika moved closer to the monitor and opened the email with a list of available cameras. Which recordings should I ask to restore first? Today's school corridors, first floor. Today, outdoor cameras on school grounds. Yesterday, school corridors, third floor. Well, I feel like the obvious one is yesterday's. Outdoor cameras on school grounds. Why would the outdoor cameras matter? I feel like we either need to do today's school corridors first floor or yesterday's school corridors third floor. But I feel like the third floor is our best option for the first one. And then we do the second. We can decide which one is best for tomorrow. I wish we had a mouse. Yesterday's school corridor, third floor. Sure. Nika turned to the computer and began typing a message. Then she looked back at me. By the way, I checked the access control system at the main gate. Evelyn hasn't left the school grounds since the beginning of the school year. She paused, frowning. And while checking the system, I noticed something strange. Yesterday at 8 in the evening, Sophie Williams entered the school grounds and then left at 10:30. But there's no data about how she left the school during the day. Nor is there data about how she returned after her night walk. Sophie didn't tell me she left the school grounds yesterday. And she behaved strangely when I asked where she was that evening. But what confuses me even more is the discrepancy in the system. How could Sophie enter the school when she was already inside and leave while remaining on school grounds? Perhaps there was a system glitch? I don't understand either. We have the information that this registration system is quite reliable. Each exit and entry is automatically recorded and duplicated on the server. I made a quick note on my notepad. Nika stood up, walked to the window outside, which it was already dark, and exhaled heavily. It's too late outside. Perhaps we should continue tomorrow. We still have a lot of work to do. She turned to me. If you don't mind, you can stay here overnight. There's a spare room in the guest wing. Considering the distance to the city and the fact that we need to start early tomorrow, that's a reasonable suggestion. Time is against us. The longer we drag this out, the more chances the killer has to cover their tracks. Then I'll walk you to your room. By the way, I've asked for dinner to be brought right there. You haven't eaten anything today. We left the office and walked into the half-empty school corridors. Most of the students were already in their rooms, but occasionally we could come across a late student or duty teacher. All the way to the room, Nika remained silent, nervously fidgeting her keys. The news of the murder knocked her down. Besides worrying about the school's reputation, she now also has to ensure that nothing happens to the students. Here we are. We stopped by door 15. Nika unlocked it with a key, which she immediately handed to me. If you need anything, call me. Don't be shy. You have my number. I turned to Nika. Cheer her up. Have a rest. Criticize the lack of control. Cheer her up. Nika, listen. I gently touched her hand, forcing her to look up. Well, we want her to like us after I accidentally forked up the first interaction with her earlier. I understand how you feel right now, but I want you to know that we will find the killer and figure out what happened. I promise you. Nika looked at our hands and then raised her gaze to my face. And if you need to talk, vent, or just not be alone, I'm here anytime. Thank you. Really, thank you. You know, when I called you this morning, all I could think about was what happened to Avalyn. I had no idea that our meeting would be like this. Yes, despite all of these terrible circumstances, I'm so glad to see you again. Nika slowly traced the outlines of my knuckles with her fingers and squeezed my hand one last time. Good night, James. Good night, Nika. I turned the handle and entered the guest room, closing the door behind me. On the nightstand next to the bed was a tray with dinner, which had already cooled down. Before I start dinner, I'll make a call to my old friend. I took out my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found Andy's name. Andy was my old summer camp friend who now worked in the information analysis department. So it seems like the only people we know are the ones that went to summer camp with us. And those are the only people that matter in this game. Over the years, we'd helped each other out more than once, but every time we worked together, I had to put up with constant grumbling and inexhaustible sarcasm. I pressed the call button, leaned against the headboard of the bed, and waited for an answer. After the third ring, I heard a familiar voice on the receiver. Oh, who we have here? James Crofton in the flesh. Let me guess, you finally decided to buy me a beer? His voice sounded tearful. I could hear him chewing something. He was probably having dinner. Not this time, buddy, but if you help me with something, I owe you one. Oh, sure, you already owe me a couple of cases. When was the last time you called me just for kicks? Am I saved in your phone as Andy the problem solver? There was Andy's usual good-natured irony in his voice. Though, you know what? I'm even flattered. It means I'm so good that James Crofton himself calls me when he's in trouble. You're not as irreplaceable as you think. It's just that everyone else is smart enough to not answer my calls after work. Oh, so that's it. I'm the last hope of a desperate man. Even better. Andy laughed, and I realized his mood had finally improved. Okay, tell me what happened this time. Long story short, I need to look up a couple people, a few students, and a swimming coach. There was a meaningful pause on the other end of the line. I could almost see Andy raising an eyebrow. Then he burst out laughing so loud that I had to pull the phone away from my ear. You dog, you're on vacation. You're hanging out with some girls and didn't invite me? What kind of friend are you after that? Andy, this is serious business. Nika called me yesterday and asked me to investigate a suicide at the school where she's the principal, which, turns out, was a murder. Nika, I've heard that name somewhere. We were together at Bear Cliff. No way. That Nika from camp? The green-haired girl you've been crushing on? That's the one. Holy cow! I thought her contacts were long gone. I remember you going crazy when she disappeared after camp. What a reunion! Be sure to say hi to her for me. I'll let you know as soon as I see her. For now, can you help me with the info on the suspects? Andy sighed heavily. I know the usual whining about risks and difficulty was about to begin. James, buddy, it's not easy to look for information when it's not an official case. You know that digging up information under no legal obligation is risky. If they see me looking for data on people outside of a case, I could get fired. Andy's voice grew more pitiful, a classic tactic he used when he wanted to negotiate better terms. We've got a new department head now, and he's incredibly meticulous. He checks every request. Andy, Please think of something for old time's sake. I'm critically short on data to figure out what's going on here, and I only have 3 days left. A long pause. I could almost physically feel Andy weighing the pros and cons. You understand that if I get caught, I'll have to say I did it at your request, right? I understand, and I'm ready to take responsibility. Okay, but for a favor like this, you'll owe me not just a couple of beers, but a couple of cases. Good beer, not the cheap stuff, and dinner at that steakhouse we've been eyeing for so long. Deal. You'd really be helping me out, Andy. Damn, you agreed so quickly. I should have pushed for more. Well, okay. Even I'm curious now about the story you've got there. I couldn't help but chuckle. Andy was as predictable as a Swiss watch. But to avoid suspicion, I can only check one of the girls per day. I have a friend in the archives who might accidentally stumble upon the necessary information during routine work. And you don't have much time, so choose wisely. Who do you need first? First, I'd like to know information about Sam Rivers, which is the swim coach, Annie Harper, the girl that found the body, Vivian Devereaux, the suspicious one in the robe that had the hickey on her chest, Sophie Williams, who is Evelyn's best friend and was definitely hiding something, plus had the sketchy in and out of the keys, and Mickey Elderwood, who is the girl who is Annie Harper's roommate and had some sketchy books whenever we saw her, and was hiding something, but it was definitely something that wasn't quite as bad. We've decided that Vivian Devereaux is probably, like, even though she's suspicious, she's probably the distraction. So my brain wants to go with either Sophie Williams, the best friend, or Sam Rivers, the swim coach, because they got the rope from Sam's office. But I don't think it was Sam at this point. So let's go with Sophie. Sophie Williams. Got it. I'll call you tomorrow when I have something. Thanks again. We'll see if my choice was correct or not. We said goodbye, and I put the phone on the nightstand. Talking to Andy, as always, lifted my spirits. It was nice to hear his voice and know that there were people I could rely on. I took off my jacket, loosened my tie, sat on the edge of the bed, and looked at the cold dinner. I had no appetite, but I needed to eat. Tomorrow was going to be a tough day. I wonder where this will all lead me. A murder in the elite school, fire in the server room, strange inconsistencies in the testimonies. Someone is working hard to cover their tracks, but every criminal makes mistakes sooner or later. The main thing is to not miss it. No! We're done with the demo. Heck. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the demo. Bummer that it's already over. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this. And it officially comes out in March of 2026. So if you liked it, you can wishlist it on Steam. It is currently only available on Steam and PC platforms, but they might end up porting it later.